Good morning, everyone. I'm Yuanke from the National University of Singapore. It's a really pleasure to be here at the 15th International Conference on Food Studies. Today, my topic is Does Traditionalism Inhibit Plant-Based Diet Adoption? A regional comparative study in China. And this project is a collaboration with Xinjiang Agricultural University and Huazhong Agricultural University. Just a quick in-person note, I recently completed my master's learning at NUS, and I'm currently applying for PhD programs in food marketing and dietary psychology. So I would be grateful for any advice or opportunities from all of you in this room. You can reach me at this email, and I'm also on LinkedIn. Right now, I'm serving as an agent lecturer at Hunan Applied Technology University, and I'm honored to receive an Emerging Scholar Award at this conference. So the motivation right now is straightforward. Global food systems face a triple challenge, like animal welfare, environmental protection, and public health. While the evidence-based advocating shift toward plant-based diet is strong, but actually behavior change is facing some problems. For instance, in France and in the Netherlands, there are limited knowledge of plant-based alternative corresponds to a small share of stable purchasers. So to interpret this intention behavior gap, we try to build on meat-related cognitive dissonance as our theoretical basis, MRCD. So many consumers acknowledge the animal welfare environment could benefit of eating that meat, yet when they confronted with those messages, they often deploy moral disengagement strategies. For instance, a moral justification and a minimization of consequences. Actually faced with dissonant information, people may preserve their current eating habits without feeling like bad people. So this logic, MRCD leading to moral disengagement, could also undermine diet change. Sometimes diet is also connected to culture and identity, so meat in particular carries symbolic meanings like status, celebration, warmth of family gathering, which can be deeply traditional. So we then consider traditionalism value orientation as a cultural psychological factor that might amplify moral disengagement. So, if meat is symbolically bonded to tradition, dissonant messaging might be more threatening and thus more likely to trigger disengagement. Anyway, this leads to our empirical gap. Despite a growing literature on MRCD and meat-related moral disengagement studies, TVO has not been fully studied in China, and China is also treated as cultural homogeneous. In that case, we try to challenge that assumption by comparing Xinjiang in western of China and Hubei province in east of China. As you can see, in Xinjiang, where meat holds strong symbolic traditional significance, but in Hubei province in east of China, where diets are more modern and diversified. In that case, we expect the cultural meaning of meat to shape how TVL operates within the MRCD framework. Anyway, from this theoretical foundation, we test three hypotheses and one proposition. The first one is TVL exerts a significant negative effect of intention to shift toward plant-based diet, and it also has a negative effect on meat-related moral disengagement. And the third one is moral disengagement mediates the relationship between TVO and intention to shift. One proposition showed that TVO's effect on plant-based intention is different based on different regions, and it might have stronger negative effects in Xinjiang, but limited studying in Hubei as well. And then we conduct behavior experiments in two regions to test our model, Xinjiang and Hubei respectively. After collecting the demographic variables, they have to complete the TVL scales. And then participants were presented with negative information about conventional meat, spanning the animal welfare, environmental, and health uh, effects, and then they have to complete the moral disengagement scale and the intention to shift toward a plant-based diet. We control the demographic variables in the main models then. So the results are significant. At the overall sample level, the results support all the hypotheses. You can say higher TVO significantly predict lower intention to shift after controlling all the demographics. And in the process mediation model 4, TVO positive predict moral disengagement, and there is a significant indirect effect between TVO and the intentional to shift the plant-based diet. And then we test the independent sample t-test, suggest that only the willingness of shifting to a plant-based diet differs significantly among all variables. It shows that differences in its underlying traditionalism value and food culture. Anyway, turning to the regional analysis by conducting model for respectively in Xinjiang and Hubei, you can see that in Xinjiang, higher TVO significantly increasing moral disengagement, and then yielding elective indirect effects on plant-based diet adoption without a direct effect. However, in Hubei, the east sample, neither the direct nor the indirect TVO pathway was significant, and two pictures were presented in the above of the PowerPoint. And you can see the huge difference between the two different regions. Anyway, in conclusion, this study provides a lot of theoretical and practical contributions. The first one is we try to invalidate value orientations, specifically the TVO, traditionalism value orientation, to our current framework, MRCD framework. And we try to empirically show that moral disengagement is a very good mediator linking TVO to resistance against plant-based diet adoption. And that helps explain why some consumers remain unmoved even when presented with stronger ethical and environmental evidence. The second is very interesting, the cultural difference within China. Like in Xinjiang context, moralized negative appeals about conventional meat sometimes may backfire when increasing disengagement among traditionalists. But in Hubei, the thing changed because with weaker symbolic binding, those appeals could name more functional benefits. Anyway, we'll see that symbolic meaning differ across regions, so the fact promotion requires the cultural sensitivities. In that case, in the Chinese context, TVO activities moral disengagement in response to meat-related moral appeals. In that case, plant-based strategies should be regional specific. Appeals messages should fit local symbols and traditions, reducing the entity threats and align with local, dietary habits. In that case, it could much more effective to promote plant-based diet in China. And I suppose that is all for the conference presentation. I'm Yuanke. Thank you for your time and thank you for your listening.